It's not just another day in your life. Things are changing for the better. At Comcast, we see those changes, and we're thinking about how we use technology today to live, work, learn, and play. And we're building for the future now, so we're better prepared for the wants and needs of tomorrow. That's why Comcast is rolling out multi-gig internet speeds to more than 50 million homes and businesses before the end of 2025, making our already industry-leading network even faster, smarter, greener, and more reliable. Over the decades, Comcast has been your partner, working hard to serve your community, and will continue to be your partner. We're expanding our gigabits so you can enjoy the tiny bits that matter most.
I'm Brandon Jones, host of the Teen Mental Health podcast, It Is Not Your Fault.
And I'm Lambert Fisher, family therapist and host of the Diversity Dude podcast.
We're not always going to be all right, and that's what makes us human. Often, when we're in pain or even thinking of suicide, we may not want others to know, but you'll feel better if you talk to someone, and you can do that safely and anonymously.
We can recognize when loved ones are not okay. They bottle up, they isolate, they're angry.
That's why we want you to know about 988, Minnesota Lifeline, for someone you're worried about or even yourself.
Anyone with an emotional or mental health related need can call, chat, or text 988 for free, confidential support. You can connect with 988 to discuss difficulty with money, relationships, anxiety, your job, concerns about drug or alcohol use, grief support, figuring out your identity, and more.
You don't even have to identify yourself or the person you're calling about, and no insurance is needed.
988 is available 24/7 year-round and can interpret in more than 200 languages.
So take a brave step. Call or text 988.
Or chat at 988lifeline.org. You don't have to do this alone.
Before she became an autism advocate and mom of 4, Sheletta Brundage was an Emmy Award-winning comedian. Need something to put a smile in your face? Laughing with Letta is sure to tickle your funny bone. Check it out, but pee first and make sure you ain't drinking nothing when Sheletta's on a roll. That way you won't have anything to clean up when the podcast is over.
Hey, everybody. Now, I have to tell y'all, I have been feeling so blessed and thankful for my health because there's a lot of people out there who've been getting real sick. This summer COVID wave is for real. So I'm sending blessings and healing vibes to everybody out there for a healthier week ahead. Now, when people get down or ill, even with something temporary, sometimes they don't see a way up because they feel so bad when they're in it and they're not sure what to do, especially, y'all know this, in our community. There's a stigma about being vulnerable, and there's an even bigger stigma about asking for help. Now, I don't know if y'all know this, but next month, September, is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And we need to talk about this, not just next month, but regularly. Suicide does not see race, it does not see ethnicity. It happens in every single race and ethnic population that exists. As for a friend or family member or someone going through a hard time, the greatest impact you can have is by simply having a heart for them and knowing who you're talking to, getting to know that person, and not trying to solve their problems. Try to put them to see, get them to see that it's not as bad as they think, and tell them about contacting 988 Minnesota Lifeline when they're struggling and they need confidential emotional support because there's a lot of hope. We just need to find a way to reach for it and to normalize asking for it. That's why I'm so happy to have my friend Brandon Jones with me today as a guest on this show. Y'all know Brandon. He is the executive director of the Minnesota Association for Children's Mental Health, and he is the host and creator of It's Not Your Fault podcast. Brandon, I cannot thank you enough for being on the program today. Thank you for joining me.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to today's conversation.
Now, we got to just be real open and frank and honest. What are some of the cultural barriers for the Black community, especially children, young Black people, about getting help?
Yeah, I think the biggest cultural barrier, and again, we've learned this over time from our family members and just in the community, has
Mhm.
been trust.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, we don't trust systems, and especially those systems that are associated with medical care. And since we don't trust those things, it leads to various different issues with getting help, like shame, guilt, even sometimes the need to be right. Proving that you do have a struggle, you do have an issue, or you have been going through things. All those things have been cultural barriers for us to getting the most accurate help that we need for whatever issue that we're dealing with.
And that help can look like so many different things. But I want to stay on this social stigma around mental health in the Black community, including our youth, because I know for me, when I felt like reaching out, I didn't want anybody to think I was weak, right?
Yeah,
I'm over here, I'm in a new state. I don't have any family members here in Minnesota. I've got three special needs children. They are
yeah,
not talking. Brandon, they are not looking at me. They are not understanding simple commands. They are not potty trained. They are all eating puree food, and they 5, 4, and 3.
yeah,
And I'm like, what am I gonna do? But when I thought about trying to reach out for somebody or talk to somebody, I felt like, oh well, that's weak. That's gonna show that I don't have no faith, that I can't handle it, that I can't take it. And
yeah.
I don't know how and when it happened, but at some point we attached the strength to get through the difficult times to some kind of badge of honor or something.
Absolutely. Well, at one point in time, we literally called Black culture the struggle. We have
Mm,
attached our resiliency to an expectation of dealing with adversity and being able to withstand adversity to the best of our ability. you know on one end of the spectrum, I would say, there is a strength in that, but there also is what I would consider a weakness, or something that we also have to watch for, is always associating that strength and that resiliency with being able to persevere through anything by yourself. And that's not a good way to deal with life at all, because we're human and things are not always going to be okay.
mhm,
We are social beings, and we're going to need other people to rely on. But then there comes that shame and guilt. Well, you couldn't get it together, or you
mhm.
didn't pray hard enough, or did you even try, or you're letting your children down. And those are unfortunate things that have happened to people, and nobody
Mhm.
feel that. Nobody wants to feel like you've been rejected by your group. So it is a dynamic within our community that feeds the stigma around dealing with mental health.
I tell people all the time now, especially in my mom groups, because I'm surrounded by mothers, like you said, in the struggle, who have kids with special needs on varying degrees. And I tell them all the time, listen, if you unsure whether or not you feeling okay, call 988. You
Yep,
probably should call. If you don't know whether or not this is, an okay way to feel, then 988 Minnesota Lifeline is safe, it's
yep,
anonymous, and it's free. You don't have
yep,
to pull out your insurance card. You don't have to call and see if it's covered by your provider. And if you're calling someone, else who needs help, you don't have to share confidential information about them if you're calling about another parent, because I've had that thought too. Like, okay, how can I support this mom? I don't even know how to support myself right now, but I know she needs more help than I have to give. And so that 988 access provides 24/7 free, confidential, emotional, and mental health support for all people who need it. And you know, a lot of times you look up at the clock and you're like, "Oh man, it's 4:45. They gone."
yeah.
Oh man, the kids are down and I'm having all these thoughts. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I gotta wait till, morning time after I get the kids off to school so I could sit in a room and talk to somebody by myself. That's not the case. Anytime you feel like picking up the phone, somebody's there.
Absolutely. And you should. And let's talk a little bit about some of the things that would help to identify when to call 988, right? It
Okay.
is available. It's right there. It's
Mhm.
literally at your fingertips. You can get help right away. But you might not know when, right? And one thing for us as Black folks, especially, we hold on to a lot of things, and we ask for
Oh,
help
baby.
way down the line, when sometimes we need to ask for the help a lot earlier. So if you've been noticing that you're isolating, if you've been noticing extreme changes in your diet or even your appetite, in your grooming, in your sleep.
Okay,
Uh,
stop, stop.
yep, go ahead.
You said grooming. You said
Yes,
grooming. My
yes,
mama had to tell me this. I didn't even realize it. My mom said, "Do you realize you haven't bathed in 2 days?"
yep, yep. And if that's
And
unknown, yeah. hmm And if that is an unnatural habit for you not to bathe daily, or if you do bathe every 2 days, I mean, that's a whole other conversation, a whole other podcast. But if you notice that you are off your regular pattern in bathing, brushing your teeth, combing or brushing your hair, even getting dressed, some people, one of the telltale signs of depression is they may wear the same outfit for several days in a row, well,
Mhm.
without washing it or anything. That is a sign that something's going on. You just don't have the motivation, or you don't have to, or you're just disconnected. Now, sometimes people don't have the resources, right? They can't get their clothes washed, things of that nature. But if that's not the barrier and it's just something internal, that's usually a sign that something's going on, and 988 may be an option for you.
And I tell people all the time, if anything is holding you or a loved one down, whether it is special needs children, anxiety, you're overwhelmed, it's job, it's money, it's relationship barriers. If you've recently lost a loved one, if you're trying to figure out your identity, if you're having thoughts of suicide, concerns about drug or alcohol use, that's what 988 Minnesota Lifeline is here for. You
Right,
do not have to do this by yourself. This is not a journey that you have to take alone, and there's no financial restriction. A
right,
lot of times we say, well, that's some white folks can do because they can afford, to go talk to a therapist. We ain't got that kind of time. I got to
right.
go to work, or it's not covered by my insurance. But this is free and it's available 24 hours. You do not have to leave your house.
Right. And let's talk about the confidentiality piece. That's important because when we talk
Hmm.
about that's what white people have the privilege and luxury to do, or whomever, a lot of that has to do with us outing ourselves or us being
Mm.
exposed for the struggles that we're having. 988 does not allow that to happen for you. You tell them what you want and what you need, and they provide information and assistance. And that's important. So you can still maintain your identity. You still can maintain some privacy, and you can still maintain some pride in who you are and get the help that you need.
And it's so different for us. What talk to me about this. What can we be doing to better help ourselves and our family, especially our children, who are in tough situations? Andrew's over here getting ready to go to college. I know
Yeah,
I'm getting on his nerves because I'm gonna miss him. Wait, Andrew, don't leave. I had to tell him don't leave in the middle of the podcast.
yeah,
Because when it comes to mental health and suicide prevention, I want to make sure that I give my children the tools they need because they have a different set of circumstances because they have special needs.
yeah. I think the big two things I would say the two biggest things that cost us nothing, but they take a lot of energy because we're not always used to doing it. One is we have to be honest with ourselves. That is probably the toughest hurdle. Is sometimes it's okay to say I'm not okay, or it's okay to say I need assistance, or it's okay to say I need to stop doing this right now. And sometimes giving yourself that permission to do those things and being honest with yourself. It may disrupt other people's lives, but it's important for you to do that because if you keep going at the pace and you keep
Mm.
exerting the energy, or you keep pushing through the negative emotions that comes with whatever action you're taking, it's going to wear you down, and you're going to need 988 and probably even some other resources to keep going forward. So the first thing is you got to be honest. The first thing is being honest is a really big key to this dynamic. The second one is you have to build healthy habits. And what I mean by that is you have to start looking at your life and figuring out where can I put an activity of joy? Where can I put an activity of what's called respite or just like rest?
Mhm.
And where can I put an activity of, and this is going to sound a little weird, but I'll talk about this on a podcast later, selfishness. Like sometimes we got to do something for ourselves. And I know in our community, we've been so collective and so willing to
Yeah.
care and compassionate for everyone else that we end up not giving that same level of attention to ourselves. And part of healing is being somewhat selfish and being able to set that boundary and say, you know what, I need this for me. And if I'm not healing, then no one's healing.
Okay, you got to tell me this. What else can we let parents and teens listening to this show know about why to get this help? As soon as you recognize some of these signs and symptoms, Brandon, that you talked about, the not bathing, the not changing clothes, the change in patterns of behavior, grooming, all those things, just you talking, you know, a light went off in my head about the time my mama told me I hadn't bathed in 2 days. I didn't even realize it, but that's the time to pick up the phone. That's the time to call. That's the time to reach out.
Yep, you got to talk about it. Don't wait. Talk about it with somebody, a friend, a parent, someone who, an educator, someone at your school, a coach, whoever you feel comfortable enough to share it. Don't to go at it alone. Going at it alone is very, very, very scary. One thing I also would say is educating ourselves to the best of our ability.
Hmm.
There's a lot of information out there. Sometimes that can be overwhelming, but try to get some information to help you just kind of steer what's going on. And then again, go ahead and dial 988. Just go ahead and just try it out. Even if you're just curious about it, feel free to go ahead and try it out. And if you really just want to do it anonymously, you can go to 988lifeline.org and just check out the website and get some information there as well. But being informed, be willing to talk, and being willing to find at least another person to connect with, I think are important things we can do.
You know what, Brandon? I'm just so grateful that you came on this show today to talk to us about this. This is so important. People talk about physical health and getting your kids checked out and checked up. I just left the eye doctor about three sets of glasses for three different kids, and then we're going to do our, annual visits to make sure they got their stuff checked off for sports. But, this mental health is just as important as their physical health, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And if anything is holding you or a loved one down, from anxiety to feeling overwhelmed to your job,
Mm-hmm.
money, relationship problems, losing a loved one, figuring out
Mm-hmm.
your identity, thoughts of suicide, concerns, drugs, alcohol, sex, any of these things, I would encourage you to go ahead and reach out to 988 Minnesota's Lifeline. And it's here for you. It's here for you. It's free. It's easy to utilize, and most people who call or text 988 feel much better after. They have much more clarity and they're ready to move forward. So if you find yourself in that space, definitely try it out.
Well, Brandon, thank you so much for being on the show, for giving us some of your time today. And you guys, please, please, please make sure you check out Brandon's podcast. It is not your fault. Each and every week, he has teen mental health tips for youth as well as parents. Has totally revolutionized the way that I am raising my children. And I tell you, I owe you some money because you kept us out of all kinds of therapy and trouble. So thank you, Brandon,
No
for being
worries.
on the show and for being part of this today. You have a great weekend.
Absolutely. You as well. Take care, everybody.
All right. And thank you all so much for listening. Please be sure to understand and know and remember that you are not alone, that you are not doing this by yourself. 988 Minnesota Lifeline is right there for you and with you. I need you to share this podcast with your friends, your family, your circle, and social groups. And there's somebody, if it's not you, that you know. Everything doesn't always apply to you, right? But it might apply to somebody that you know. So again, I just can't say enough. Um, 988, it provides 24/7 free, confidential, emotional, and mental health support for all people who need it. And all you got to do is text 988, or you can go to 988lifeline.org. Whether it's anxiety or drugs or alcohol or suicide, identity, or you just feeling like, how we say in our community, you got the blues, 988 is here for you. And so are we. Have a great day.
That girl is crazy in a good way. To check out previous episodes, log on to her website, SheLettaMakesMeLaugh.com. You can also check out where she's appearing next and score cool merch.
You know Sheletta makes you laugh, but did you know Sheletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Sheletta Brundage founded Sheletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African American subject experts at ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house creating broadcast quality commercial content. And Sheletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Sheletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
Hi, I'm Sheletta Brundage. I'm a media personality, podcaster, and a business owner. But my most important role is mom. 3 of my beautiful kids have been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. When I didn't know who to trust or where to turn, I found ACRA. ACRA provides home care services to families all over Minnesota. The care is not one size fits all. They know each one of my kids is unique. They listen to what resources we needed and what's best for our family. I've seen my kids grow and thrive with ACRA's in-home care. While autism is the most common diagnosis among ACRA clients, ACRA offers personalized in-home care services for people with disabilities, chronic illnesses, behavioral diagnosis, and mental illness. They work with children, adolescents, and older folks too. Find out more about ACRA at their website, acrahomecare.org. ACRA helps me provide my kids with a better quality of life. They can do it for your family too.
I'm Brandon Jones, host of the Teen Mental Health podcast, It Is Not Your Fault.
And I'm Lambert Fisher, family therapist and host of the Diversity Dude podcast.
We're not always going to be all right, and that's what makes us human. Often, when we're in pain or even thinking of suicide, we may not want others to know, but you'll feel better if you talk to someone, and you can do that safely and anonymously.
We can recognize when loved ones are not okay. They bottle up, they isolate, they're angry.
That's why we want you to know about 988, Minnesota Lifeline, for someone you're worried about or even yourself.
Anyone with an emotional or mental health related need can call, chat, or text 988 for free, confidential support. You can connect with 988 to discuss difficulty with money, relationships, anxiety, your job, concerns about drug or alcohol use, grief support, figuring out your identity, and more.
You don't even have to identify yourself or the person you're calling about, and no insurance is needed.
988 is available 24/7 year-round and can interpret in more than 200 languages.
So take a brave step. Call or text 988.
Or chat at 988lifeline.org. You don't have to do this alone.
If you live in an older home, it may contain lead-based paint on walls, woodwork, and windows. Even more bad news, lead exposure can be dangerous to young children and impact their brain development. And now, the good news. Hennepin County will fix lead hazards in your home at no cost to you.
We were worried because of the paint in the windows in the bedroom. They were peeling and chipping, and we know that when paint peels and chips and it looks a certain way, that's possibly lead. We were worried for our children more so than anything.
Eligible homes can qualify for up to $15,000 in upgrades. You may even qualify for new energy-efficient windows. Don't worry, Hennepin County has a trusted list of pre-approved contractors. You won't even have to find companies with correct licenses or certifications.
I've just done a test and it's positive. So we know that this is lead-based paint, and then we know it's a hazard because it's creating dust every time this window moves and opens. And if you look in here, that's just full of lead paint chips.
You won't have to stay with your cousin while you're getting the lead out. Hennepin County even pays for you and your family to stay in a hotel while the work is underway. The last good news is how easy it is to apply. Just go to hennepin.us/lead control to get started.
I'm really happy with the program. We can go to bed knowing that our children are safe.
That's hennepin.us/lead control. Tell your friends about it.